Hello everyone and welcome to Metagame Mastery, coming to you today with more Dominaria Limited Archetypes. Today we're looking at a Landfall strategy in green and blue. If you enjoy our content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Big time! Go time! Let's go! First up, we've got Tatyova Benthic Druid. She's 5 CMC. Is she a she? Yeah, let's just go with the she. 3 colorless, green blue for a 3/3 legendary Merfolk Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. And that's the type of value we're looking to get. Is just gain benefits by dumping all our lands onto the field early and often. Of course, when most people think of this strategy, they think of Multani Yavame's avatar. He is 6 CMC, 4 colorless, green for a 0/0 legendary elemental avatar with reach and trample. He gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land in your graveyard. You can pay 1 colorless and a green, return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand, return Multani from your graveyard to your hand. So this is a very powerful spell, but it's a mythic, so you're not going to come across it very often. If you do happen to draw it in your limited or your limited card pool, then definitely this is the deck to run it in. But we're just going to look at some staple commons, uncommons, and then we'll talk more about rares and kill conditions. Adventurous Impulse is perfect in this deck. It's 1 green mana for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Effectively a ponder for this strategy. Perfect. Broken Bond is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a green sorcery. Destroys target artifact or enchantment. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is actually really good removal in any green deck, and it's just generally useful to get that additional ramp from cheating a land into play. But this is also very, very good in this strategy because we're looking to take advantage of putting lands in play. Grow from the Ashes is 3 CMC, 2 colorless, and a green for a sorcery with a kicker cost of 2 colorless. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If the spell was kicked, instead search your library for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. So the key thing you got to remember about this is nowhere in there does it say that it enters the battlefield tapped. That means you're going to be putting these lands into play and be able to turn around and cast spells with them. Very good, especially when we're splashing blue and we've got a little bit of control that we have access to. Now we're going to need mana in order to cast all these spells and ramp them out as quickly as possible. So Llanowar Elves is just such a generally good card. You want it in every green deck. It's 1 green mana for a 1/1 Elf Druid. You can tap him to add 1 green mana. And Llanowar Scout is particularly effective in this strategy. He's 2 CMC, 1 colorless and a green for a 1/3 Elf Scout. You can tap him to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Marwyn the Nurturer is going to play very well with the other elves we have in this deck. She's 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a green for a 1/1 legendary elf druid. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on her, and then you can tap her to add an amount of green equal to her power to your mana pool. Gilded Lotus is just fine mana acceleration. This is a very mana-hungry deck, so you would definitely consider running this. It's 5 colorless mana for an artifact. Tap it to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. And Mending of Dominaria is right at home in this strategy. It's 5 CMC, 3 colorless, green for an enchantment saga. On the first 2 lore counters, you put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And on the 3rd lore counter, you return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield and shuffle your graveyard into your library. Very, very powerful effect in this strategy. And what are we going to do with all that mana? Well, we're going to cast Kamal's Druidic Vow. It's X green for a legendary sorcery. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of land and or legendary permanent cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest into your graveyard. Very powerful, just dumping a ton of lands onto the battlefield. Also cheating out some of our more powerful legends. For example, Slin Voda, the Rising Deep, is 8 CMC, 6 colorless, blue for an 8/8 legendary Leviathan with a kicker of 1 colorless and 1 blue. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return all creatures to their owner's hands except for merfolk, krakens, leviathans, octopi, and serpents. So this is going to be super powerful. Something for us to do with our ton of extra mana, board wiping our opponent, and keeping our merfolk and this guy on the battlefield to finish them off. Also, Tempest Djinn plays very well in this strategy. He's blue for a 0/4 flying Djinn, but he gets +1/+1 for each basic island you control. And being able to just tutor out all these lands and cheat them into play, he's going to get above curve very fast and be able to attack very aggressively. Sylvan Awakening is the ultimate finisher in this deck. It's 3 CMC, 2 colorless, and a green for a sorcery. Until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. You can go wide and attack for a ton of damage with this. Very, very powerful in this strategy. And if you tap your Mana Dorks or say a Gilded Lotus for this, then all your lands get to attack in. Also super powerful. Syncopate is a good card in general, but is particularly effective in this strategy where we have tons of extra mana. It's X and a blue for an instant counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If the spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. We should always have the extra mana to make it impossible for our opponents to keep up. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoy our content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Metagame Mastery. Peace!